Inositol is a very underrated yet amazing supplement that not only helps me manage carb cravings, but is also proven to balance blood sugar and potentially improve neurotransmitter levels. Before I tell you how to take it correctly, let's first cover some basics. Inositol is a vitamin B-like substance that used to be called vitamin B8. It's no longer called that because it was found out that the body can synthesize it from glucose. And if the body can synthesize its own vitamins, per definition, it's no longer a vitamin, with the exception of vitamin D, of course. Because it shares so many characteristics of the other B vitamins, it can often be found in B-complex supplements as a vitamin B cofactor. Now, how does inositol work and what does it even do? It affects cell signaling, so how your cells communicate with each other. And it does this by modulating receptor sensitivity, both for neurotransmitters and also for insulin. In terms of neurotransmitters, inositol downregulates adrenaline receptors, so it makes them less sensitive. Adrenaline is one of the neurotransmitters/hormones that is responsible for your fight or flight reflex. So that reflex in your body that is responsible for how you react to stress. Every time you are under stress, more adrenaline will be pumped out by your adrenal glands. And this can increase your blood pressure, your heart rate, and tense up your muscles. Inositol somewhat downregulates the sensitivity of these adrenaline receptors, which is why it can be seen as a calming nutrient. Since many people nowadays are overstimulated, this is definitely a good thing and would benefit a lot of people. Next to adrenaline receptors, the other type of receptors that are affected are insulin receptors. And inositol basically upregulates them, so it makes them more sensitive. As you probably know, insulin is a hormone made by your pancreas that helps our body use sugar for energy. When it binds to a cell's insulin receptor, it allows the glucose or the blood sugar to enter that cell. Like I said before, inositol can upregulate the activity of these receptors, which then improves insulin sensitivity of the cell. This can help stabilize your blood sugar levels and avoid big spikes and crashes. By the way, more stable blood sugar levels also help bring down your adrenaline, because every time your body detects low glucose or low blood sugar, it will pump out more adrenaline to stimulate the release of glucose from the liver's glycogen. One third benefit I haven't mentioned yet in regards to inositol is for polycystic ovary syndrome, or PCOS. This is a condition where the ovaries produce too much androgens, so male sex hormones. This can mess up your menstrual cycle, lead to irregular periods, and it can also create small fluid-filled sacs that are these cysts that the name comes from. Because insulin resistance plays a big role in PCOS, inositol has been very promising for its treatment, and there is quite a lot of research on it. Now, how do you take inositol correctly? The two most common forms are myoinositol and D-chiroinositol. They are very similar on a molecular level, but have somewhat different functions in the body. Myoinositol helps the transporter's activation and the body's use of glucose, while D-chiroinositol is involved in glycogen synthesis and storage. Because myoinositol should be the more abundant form of inositol in your body, and because it can be converted into D-chiroinositol, most inositol supplements just have myoinositol. That said, there do seem to be people where this conversion doesn't really work right, so they should be supplementing both forms. And it's usually recommended to use a ratio of 40:1 myo to D-chiroinositol. I personally started with just myoinositol and did fine with it. And when I began taking it, I started with a dose of 250 milligrams per day, which is very low. Often when you read the literature on inositol supplementation, especially for PCOS, they use very high doses of several milligrams per day. I still recommend you start with a low dose, for example 500 milligrams, and then see how your body reacts over time. Like I said before, for me it really only took a very small dose, and I definitely noticed effects fairly quickly. Within a couple of days, my carb cravings went down, and I did notice the adrenaline reduction. Another thing I should mention is that inositol supplements also often come with choline as a synergist. Both of these nutrients work together and both used to be called B vitamins, choline B4 and inositol B8. Now, there isn't really any literature on the ideal ratio between the two, but you will find some websites saying that it's 1-to-1. So oftentimes supplements that contain both inositol and choline will have a dosage from 250 milligrams of inositol and also 250 milligrams of choline. Now, before I wrap up this video, let me say one more thing. When it comes to cravings and blood sugar issues, you never just want to look at one nutrient in isolation. What I mean by that is inositol can definitely help, but there are other factors at play here. From a nutrient point of view, other important players are magnesium, zinc, and chromium. Magnesium is involved in insulin production and sensitivity. Low levels of magnesium have been linked to insulin resistance, so your body's cells no longer responding normally to insulin. And also keep in mind that a magnesium deficiency is very widespread. Same with zinc, which helps regulate the activity of enzymes that are involved in blood sugar metabolism. And lastly, chromium helps the body process insulin more effectively. It does this by binding to insulin and forming a complex that helps insulin bind to the receptors on the cell. So make sure to look at all of these nutrients together. Chances are you will be low in one or more of them if you have these issues. If that's the case, get tested properly and talk to a qualified practitioner. Otherwise, you will be hopping from supplement to supplement without noticing any benefits. I hope you liked this video and I see you in the next one.